Hello everybody, my name is EK and welcome back to the channel. Now today we're doing something that I don't generally do, which is a news article rundown. The reason I'm doing this one in particular is because I have done a video on this exact subject a couple of months ago. I'll link it in the description. So what I'll be doing is I'll just be reading through the post and I'll be sharing my thoughts as we go through, and we'll just read it top to bottom. Hi all, I am Cameron Rich, lead for the Encounter Design team here at ArenaNet. The Encounters team is responsible for the PvE encounter experiences in Guild Wars 2, including designing and balancing all our new creatures, armies, bosses, and instance content. Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons is on the horizon, bringing with it a series of new strike missions that aim to provide accessible, challenging combat experiences for players to chew on. So this was already announced back in the initial livestream. He says here, since this content was first revealed during the expansion announcement livestream on July 27th, we have been listening to all your comments, questions, and concerns regarding strike missions and endgame PvE content as a whole. So at least he's saying that he's listening to us. Now, we don't know how much of this is actually true and how much we have impacted their decisions, but it's good that he at least tries to acknowledge it. Today, we'll share our vision for strike missions as a game mode and provide a deeper look at what you can expect when Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons ships next February, which actually is in approximately 3 months now. It's getting quite close. Including a look at both difficulty modes and changes to the reward structure. Let's jump into it. So the reason I'm so excited is because he's talking about difficulty modes. I'll talk more about it as we go through the article. So he starts off with accessible endgame. Players looking for endgame instanced PvE experiences in Guild Wars 2 will find a wide range of challenges to test their skills in Threats of the Mists, strike missions, and raids. There we go, he is actually acknowledging that raids exist. That's a good start. Getting started in this world of challenging group content can be daunting, especially if you're looking to climb the difficulty ladder and take on the toughest encounters the game has to offer. So where do you start? Normal difficulty strike missions are intended to be an entry point to the world of 10-player content in Guild Wars 2. These instances are designed to be something you can tackle alongside both close friends and new allies, pitting you and 9 others against jazzed up, remixed versions of epic, exciting bosses from the Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons story. This gives every player the opportunity to experience these encounters as key story moments, while enabling each strike mission to hold greater importance in the overall narrative. These encounters will introduce you to the mechanics you'll need to learn and master in order to continue your journey, in an environment that doesn't demand perfection, but still pushes you to learn and grow your combat capabilities. By the time you have finished each strike missions, you'll be familiar with the encounter terms like fixates, stacks, spreading, kiting, and more. Our goal is that once you've got a firm grasp of the fundamentals, you should feel confident tackling the next steps on the difficulty ladder, including a much requested addition to strike missions, which he's going to talk about is going to be challenge modes. Now, this is such an important thing. Now, obviously, we have to take everything he says here with a grain of salt, because ArenaNet has promised stuff before, ArenaNet has kind of mentioned things before, and has not always delivered on them as we'd like, if at all. So the thing I want to talk about here first is he is talking about difficulty modes. He's talking about 3 difficulties in particular. He's talking about a story mode, he's talking about a normal difficulty, and he is talking about a challenge mode as far as I understand. Now this is pretty much exactly what I talked about in my initial video a couple of months ago. Once again, link is in the description, where I mentioned that what I want them to do is I want them to not necessarily split their focus too much. Like, they have 2 teams. They have a team working on like, instance, challenging content, mainly raids, and they also have a team working on story content. And it kind of feels bad that 2 teams are developing this really amazing content, but then they don't work together. They don't combine their resources. So what I wanted them to do is I want them to create content that is ready to be made difficult in the story, that you can then replay as a challenging version of said content. And this seems to be exactly what they're doing, which is why I'm doing this video, because I'm really passionate about this subject. So let's continue. He says, Strikes 2.0, now with challenge mode. You heard it right. On the End of Dragons first look livestream, challenge mode difficulty is coming in Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons strike missions. Challenge mode takes the normal difficulty strike missions and further expands on their mechanics, remixing them further to create even greater challenges while introducing new surprises that keep players on their toes. Each challenge mode strike mission is designed with a specific level of challenge in mind, creating a clear difficulty ramp that will push you forward and continually test your coordination and mastery over the combat system. You'll need to work with your allies to form and execute a plan of execution and be quick to react to overcome these toughened up encounters. More succinctly, these encounters will feel like proper raid bosses. He said it, once again, he has acknowledged that the raids exist, he has referenced them, and he's telling us that these new bosses will feel similar to raid bosses. Now, if that is true, I am extremely excited. Though, once again, I do want to take this with a grain of salt because they haven't really nailed the strike system as of yet. They have shown that they can create very interesting and fun encounters, but it hasn't really been within the strike system per se. But I'll talk about that a bit more as we finish the article in a bit. To ensure these fights live up to the challenge mode name, we set out from the beginning to design each encounter in a top-down fashion, starting with an outline of how the challenge mode will play out. We began by detailing unique mechanics, estimating time to kill and damage thresholds players need to meet in order to succeed, and identifying clear roles required for each player in the squad. Once we had a firm grasp on the challenge mode experience, we dialed in the difficulty for the normal and story mode through designing by subtraction, paring down the most difficult aspects of the encounter, focusing on the skills and abilities we wanted players to learn and master to grow their capabilities as a player. Through this method, more players can engage with the content we build at a difficulty level that they feel is comfortable. Sounds pretty good so far. This is how we approach the design for challenge mode fractals and raids. So if you are familiar with that content, consider them a good reference point. Challenge modes will be enabled in the weeks after the Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons launch, allowing you time to enjoy the story and world at your own pace, get familiarized with normal mode strikes and perfectual builds, especially with the new 9 elite specializations. The team is eagerly looking forward to watching the player base tackle these new challenges. We'll give more precise details on when you can expect challenge mode to release as we get closer to launch date. So there's a lot to unpack here. So first of all, let's talk about their design philosophy, because they're talking about a top-down design. Now, what does a top-down design mean? Well, I mean, he's explaining it a bit here. It kind of just means that you build the final version first. So challenge mode is created first. And then once challenge mode is done, like it's 100% done, that's when you start thinking, okay, so how are we going to make this experience, this challenge mode, how are we going to bring it down in difficulty while still retaining everything that makes the encounter fun and everything that you need to learn to do the encounter. Now, the easy way to do such a thing is by reducing damage, by making the boss weaker, by removing some insta-kill abilities. Personally, I'm really hoping that they keep a certain level of mechanics in the fight, even in easy mode, or, normal mode, which I guess is like higher than story mode, but it's not quite, challenge mode. I want them to have a system in place there where there are going to be certain mechanics that the players will have to do even on normal modes, otherwise they fail. They don't have to be specifically hard. I'm not talking a mechanic where like 9 people have to do their own thing and one guy has to stand in a certain spot, and if like one person messes up there, everything just goes to shit. I'm not talking about something like that. I'm talking about a system where some people have to do some very easy stuff like, sidestep a very simple mechanic, break a break bar that is very easy to break. It's not supposed to be very difficult. It's supposed to be somewhat challenging, but it's mainly supposed to teach people the mechanic that they require to know for the challenge mode version. So I'm really hoping that they really, nail down this unstripping of the top-down completed challenge mode, because otherwise you're gonna end up with a very watered down normal and story mode version where the step from normal mode to challenge mode is going to be too big, which will then result in the same situation we have right now where the challenge modes are barely played because, it's much more difficult. Now, the other side of the coin that could happen is they do the stripping down thing, but they don't make the challenge mode challenging enough. I don't want the challenge mode to be on the level of the Bone Skinner and the Whisper of Jormag, for example. I think that's a perfectly fine level for strikes to be at on a baseline level. So the Bone Skinner and the Whisper of Jormag should be the normal difficulty, with a challenge mode being added on top of that. Now, those specific examples I don't think are too great, because I think they both suffer quite a lot of design flaws that are being bypassed by people kind of like cheating the content, especially the Bone Skinner with the whole overheal system, which is stuff that I need to work on. But, just in terms of raw difficulty, I think it should be somewhere around there. Also, then back here, they are talking about a certain difficulty ramp that will push you forward and continually test your coordination and mastery over the combat system. So what this supposedly means is that the first strike is going to be relatively easy. The first strike is going to be, let's say like a tier 2 fractal or something in terms of the normal mode, and then maybe the challenge mode is like a basic tier 4 fractal, which is still quite easy, but at least, it eases the more casual player base into playing that type of content. And then as they go on and on and on, the baseline should slowly start becoming, tier 4s, or like Bone Skinner, Whisper of Jormag again. And then the challenge modes should be akin to the raid challenge modes. Because, it won't be enough if they're like semi-challenging, and if they're, a bit challenging for the people who want to play the content and who have never raided or have never done, fractal CMs or anything like that. They need to be challenging enough to really grasp that endgame community. Because what Guild Wars 2 needs right now is Guild Wars 2 needs to really, really nail their endgame system, have a continuous flow of endgame content going into the game, have a large part of the game involved in it, but that doesn't mean that everyone has to be able to clear it. Because what we need a system that is going to make people come back. Like, we need a strike every like couple of weeks or every like month, or even if it's every like 6 months, but we drop in like 10 new strikes or something. Like, every patch comes with like 3 or 4 new bosses with their own challenge modes and stuff. If we have something like that going on, and the difficulty is ramped up properly, the player base has kind of like learned how it works, that player base also has a clear path. Like, you want people to be able to be like, okay, so you want to get into strikes? Okay, so what you do is you complete strike 1 through 7 in the Ender Dragon story, which will get you on the level that you need to be in terms of mechanical skill, and then you go play the strikes in Season 6, and, those are all on that level. And, at that point, you can assume people have a certain level of skill, and then you can, build upon that level of skill with more interesting mechanics, and, ask more of the player base. It has to be something like that. We need a steady stream, because currently we have raids. Raids are really good. I think raids are definitely the best content that is in Guild Wars 2 by a large margin, but it's not played very much. And a lot of people, especially like raid enthusiasts, which, I love raiding, but I'm not like an enthusiast. I'm not raiding every single week. But I don't care what umbrella they're putting these encounters under. I don't care if they're raids. I don't care if they're fractals, strikes, Dragon Response mission, dungeons. Like, I don't care. I just want there to be good encounters, no matter the name. I am actually, and this might sound a bit weird, but I am actually in favor of completely abandoning raids. Now, hold on, before you go and furiously type away in the comments, let me finish. I am not okay with them removing fractals or stopping fractal development, because fractals are the 5-man endgame content that needs to continue to be developed, in my personal opinion. But I am comfortable with them completely stopping raid development. Now, this is a very important part, because I am only comfortable with this if they now go extremely hard on strikes. Strikes are the endgame, and we get the same encounters we would have had in raids, but we get them in strikes, and we get many more. Like, we have 5 times, 6 times as many releases as we get with raids right now. If it's something like that, let raids die. I don't care. You can still play through them. They're still really good. But we just need a way to get people into that. And with raids, maybe they're like, we don't want to do this anymore. Raids are too hard, or people assume them to be too hard. We don't want to make an easy mode because it's weird code or something. We can't really go back and make an easy mode. Start from scratch. Start here. Make this the starting point for the resurgence of Guild Wars 2 Endgame, because the game has such good endgame. It's just that there's not enough, and not enough people playing it, and thus the development is not very interesting for them because they're not making as much money from it. this is your time, Marionette. So, if anyone's listening from Marionette right now, this is your time. All right, let's move on. I feel like I'm ranting, but I have to. I have to. This is a very important subject. So now we have standardizing Chinese. Now, this is also a very important part, but it's less interesting, I think, because I don't think rewards are the main issue. I think it's a part. But anyway, let's read what he has to say here. So when we first introduced strike missions in the Icebrood Saga, we took the opportunity to try a new reward system with the weekly chest and attempted to create a week-to-week cycle to encourage players to return to strike missions on a regular basis. However, the system missed the intended mark, using too many currencies and causing confusion around how to deal with them. So, we're returning to basics that our raid players will find familiar. Strike missions in End of Dragons will award a single currency. Any End of Dragon strike mission you complete will reward currency to be spent on strike mission specific rewards, including any drops from the strike missions. You won't be beholden to a fickle fate of random number generation to get what you want. Additionally, we'll be consolidating the strike mission currencies introduced in the Icebrood Saga into one currency with no weekly cycle. You'll be able to trade in your End of Dragons strike mission currency for the Icebrood Saga strike mission currency, so you can easily go back for all the rewards you may have missed while still being able to play the latest and greatest challenges. Until next time, as always, thank you for your candid feedback and your continued support. Your shared perspectives help ground us and shape the game for the better. After all, Guild Wars 2 would not be where it is without you. Cameron and the Guild Wars 2 team. So, I want to talk a bit about the standardizing Chinese part, because I think it is a very good idea. The strike mission system currently, the reward system currently, is extremely confusing. You have, I think, 6 different currencies. There are like 3 smaller crystals, and then you can kind of like upgrade those into like bigger crystals. And depending on how many of the daily strikes you have cleared in a week, you can open a chest that will then give you rewards based on your weekly clears. Like, I guess in a way it makes sense if you're really into it, but it needs to be standardized. It needs to be easier. And I'm glad they're taking a look at it. Now, one thing they mention here is that it says that the currency that you will get will be used to buy strike mission specific rewards, including any unique drops from strike missions. Now, this makes me very happy. Reason for that is I don't think currently strike missions have any unique rewards. I mean, maybe they are there, but I have never gotten a single unique reward from a drop. I have gotten unique rewards from strike associated achievements and stuff, but I've never gotten, as far as I'm aware, a unique drop killing a boss. So I really like the fact that they want to add more of this in there. Raids kind of already have those, though to be fair, I think they're a bit too easy to get. They should be adding more of those. And, just imagine if every time there is a new strike mission or like a new set of strike missions, they also release like an entire new weapon set. Just imagine that. It probably would happen because, they're releasing them on a gem store and, money making and blah, 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 blah. But just for a second, imagine there is a new weapon set and, you can play through the strike missions to get the weapon set as RNG drops. If you're not getting those as RNG drops, it's fine. Just play more strike missions, you'll be getting the currency, and you can farm the weapons by going to the vendor and buying them there. I think it's a really good system. Now, I'm probably a bit optimistic about the rewards they can put in there, but I'm hopeful that it's going to be interesting. At the very least, it can be like the raid system right now, where we have a couple different weapons per boss, which is fine. Just make them good skins. Also, if they're remarkably rare or hard to get, it will give a certain level of prestige by finishing the entire set, so that's always nice. So he also says here that you'll be able to trade your End of Dragons strike mission currency for the Icebrood Saga strike mission currency. So you can use the new currencies you'll be getting, or a new currency, excuse me, it's a single currency, I should learn this, in the End of Dragons strike missions and use it in the Icebrood Saga strike missions. Now, some people might immediately jump the gun and say, okay, but why can't we use Icebrood Saga strike currency for the End of Dragons strike, rewards? And for people who know this, it's very obvious. But I just want to point it out here because I've seen this comment on Reddit so many times that I just want to point it out. So the reason I don't do this is the exact same reason why every single time there is a new map, there is a new currency, and they don't reuse an old currency. It is because what ArenaNet doesn't want to happen is that people who have played a lot of the old content go into the new content, have the currency already because they've been able to farm it for like the past 3 months or so, and then just get all the rewards from a new map instantly, or at least get a lot of progress towards it, thus reducing their incentive to play the new content. ArenaNet wants you to play the new content, so that's why playing the new content and buying the older stuff is fine. Playing the older content to buy the new stuff, not as much. Anyway, all in all, I didn't expect this video to last this long. I wanted to do like a 5 to 10 minute rundown of the patch. I guess in the end it's going to be like a 15 to 25 minute video. Apologies, but that's just the way I roll. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Let me know what you think, because I'm carefully optimistic. I am still a bit scared that they're putting this out here and only half of it will be true and it will be kind of bad, and I'm like sitting here just shaking my head. But until I'm proven wrong, I choose to believe that 2022, as Teapot has said, is the year of Guild Wars 2. I am excited. I hope you are too. Let me know what you think, guys, and have a nice day. I'll see you around. Also, let me know what you think of this patch rundown or like article rundown kind of video. I'm kind of new to this. I do enjoy doing it, but I just kind of feel like it's already been covered by like Wooden Potatoes and Mucklock and Teapot and stuff. So let me know what you think and have a nice day. Bye!